Good morning and welcome to AM 1380 WYSH and Ask Your Neighbor. Ask Your Neighbor can also be heard and seen on our website, WYSHradio.com. And if you are in Anderson, Rome, or Morgan County and have Comcast cable, you can watch Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV Channel 12. Ask Your Neighbor is the program where you call in and do just that. Ask Your Neighbor. Do you have a comment? Do you have a problem? Or do you have a question? Then call in and ask your neighbor. 865-457-1380 or toll free at 877-711-4005. And for those of you that might be listening or watching on the internet, you can email from our website, WYSHradio.com. Just click on the Contact Us button and email your questions. Now sit back and listen as listeners throughout East Tennessee and the entire world answer your questions on Ask Your Neighbor on BBB TV 12 and AM 1380 WYSH.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome into Ask Your Neighbor here on a finally Friday. We're making up some days because of scheduling snafus. Mine and Sheriff's. We finally got it. Thanks for coming in. Good morning. Sheriff Barker, how are you, sir?
Doing well.
Eventful day so far, aren't we?
It's shaping up to be one.
How have you been, sir?
I'm doing all right. Everything's good. Personally, with the exception of I got into some poison oak, and it ain't been fun. I've never been eat up with it like this.
Were you doing yard work or?
Yes, clear a thicket.
Isn't it something how you, as you age, things that you did your entire life, all of a sudden now I never had allergies. Never. It didn't bother me. And in the last 2-3 years, man.
Same.
Wear me out.
Absolute same. I've never had allergies. And the doctor told me that you could, like, even some products like your deodorant or lotion or something you've used for decades,
can turn.
All of a sudden you become allergic to it.
It's just getting old. I guess we just can't deal with what we deal. No, it ain't. It ain't for wimps. That is for sure. Let's start off with just obviously you know I'm going to ask you about it, but where are we? What's going on with the Anderson County School Systems investigation?
It's still an ongoing case. I can't remember if this had happened since last time we were on the show, but part of the process was, or part of the events that occurred, they didn't renew Coach Keith's contract, and, and there was a lot of talk about an ineligible player, and Clinton was supposed to forfeit so many games. Well, that's since changed because the new principal come in and found where it was basically a typo and put on the wrong year, so the kid was eligible.
Yes,
which doesn't really change the investigation a whole lot. It's just one less thing we have to look at, right?
Sure.
Because it's unfounded in that particular instance. There are talks about other entities coming in, such as comptroller getting involved, but at this point, I can't say.
I know they've been here. I don't know if they're still here, but I know they've been here. I know that. And then somebody asked me the other day, and it said that they heard that there might be something where there was some missing money, and I texted you about that. And you guys didn't have any of that.
I've not heard that. Yeah, I've not heard that. I will say this, and this is nothing to do with this specific thing we're discussing, but I mean, unfortunately, it seems like at least a couple times a year, any organization, particularly when it comes to youth sports or church groups, there's always that allegation or fear that something like that's going to happen. So we see some of those complaints, but those primarily are reported to the district attorney's office, and they either assign one of their investigators to it or they reach out.
Well, I'm certainly not insinuating that did happen. I just was asking you because I was told that they went to get something out of an account. There was not the
Yeah,
some funds that were missing, misplaced, something to that effect.
I've not heard that.
Is there a time frame to which you guys feel like you're going to draw to an end on your end?
No, I don't have one. Only because it is so massive in the sense that, I think we talked about this once before about trying to run down, the media reported, the Knoxville stations reported 1,500 grade changes.
I did too. That's what the teacher had said, that they'd done about 1,500 in the last 4 months at that point.
Yeah, and so we have to run that down in the sense of, and I know we did discuss this because I told you about the educator that is not affiliated, how credit recovery works, and is it one kid that had 1,500 grades changed, or is it 1,500 kids?
One grade change.
So as we have to run that number down, that really dictates how many interviews we have and who knew what and what was said. So it's really labor intensive.
Didn't the school board themselves release that it was about 25 kids?
I don't know. If they did, I didn't see that.
Maybe I just said something I wasn't supposed to say out loud. I don't know.
I mean,
I had somebody tell me that was somebody involved with it. So that they thought it was about 25. It was going to end up about 25, and then there were some specifics but they seemed to think it was all kind of coming to a close. I don't know.
Very well may be. I mean.
Okay. You're just not going to tell me anything, are you? You're just keeping it close to the vest. That's all right. Well, I appreciate what you can answer, what you do. What else is going on? I mean, have y'all been? I was going to say no news is good news. It's been kind of quiet, but I don't know if it's been really quiet or not.
So
we had the body in Oak Ridge here recently. I know you guys assisted with that.
Fortunately for Anderson County Sheriff's Office, it's been kind of quiet. We had a really bad run there a few months back, and as we're recovering from that, we're kind of running back into our same old problems that we just deal with year in, year out. On the operations side, we're fully staffed, with the exception of we have 2 openings in SRO. We have one just submitted his 2-week resignation. He's going to another agency. And then, of course, the other one is Hollywood, who's been reassigned due to his health issues.
Gotcha.
And so we're looking for 2 replacements there. But now on the jail side, I'm down 22, which is a boatload.
I was going to say that's a great difference from where you were. We were cooking along, yeah.
So we've ran into some issues there on that side as far as and look, some of it is
figuring out they weren't right for the job.
Yeah, that's the bulk of it. But you had a few too that. So when that Barraquin case kicked off, right, the corrections officer that we arrested. When you do that, when you turn the light inward, they tend to. If you're there, it may not. I'm not even insinuating any of them had anything to do with Barraquin's circumstances, but if they're doing something not even illegal, just out of
they start looking to get out of light
policy. They're like, they're serious here. They're going to hold us accountable, and people bounce.
Okay,
but more. Hands down, the vast majority of it is they just realize that this ain't their kind of work. So couple that with our inmate population is as high as it's been in a long, long time. We're consistently running 420, 425 mark. And being down 22 corrections officers makes it tough.
What's the catalyst for that? Drugs?
Yeah, always. I mean, everything almost exclusively, everything is driven by addiction and mental health. You don't find one without the other. And so we're locking them up in Anderson County. We just are, right? And and the complicate it even more, to be quite frank with you, is, next week starts the homicide trial out of Oak Ridge, right? So for the first time since think they said 03 maybe, or sequestering a jury.
Oh.
So
how does that fall?
That's my responsibility. So I've got to pay for the hotel rooms. When I say we, taxpayer, but I'm the one in charge of it. And we've got hotel rooms set up and security around the clock. And it's that's going to take some manpower. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's going to be all hands on deck for the next couple of weeks. And then we get into logistic issues for sessions 1 and 2. Sessions 1 is going to be sharing.
Don't you wish that was all under one roof?
I would love to.
Shh. Can someone say Justice Center?
Yeah. Well,
I'm joking.
I'm a proponent of it.
I know
and I get a lot of people aren't. But it's it'd make it nice. We were just walking them across the parking lot as opposed to.
Mm-hmm.
So my jail administrator Zach Allen was up in Campbell County this week, helping them with some stuff, and they have a justice center in Campbell County, and he was telling me something, and I forgot they had it. I mean, I've been up there and visited it. I knew they had it, but he was saying something about, I don't know, something about their mess. And I said, well, how do they do that? Well, with that number of people. And he goes, well, there's no transportation. They just walk them across the parking lot. Mm-hmm. I'm like, So in that particular case, it helped.
You got to sit down one day. Maybe you already have done that, and calculate up in an average year's time how many trips you make back and forth to Oak Ridge Court. Multiply that times gallons of gas divided by miles, because you probably spend a substantial amount of money just in that drive there and drive back.
So in 19, I think it was. We looked at that, and it was well over $100,000
just in driving back and forth.
Just Oak Ridge, because so here is, and this sounds so petty, honestly, but it's a legitimate issue we had. So you line up, say 40 inmates, transport them down to court in Oak Ridge. And you've got other defendants who are out on bond coming in, so depending on the docket.
Gathering of the criminals.
So you get them all in there together, and the judge and the DAs and the defense work through as many as they can. Then it's time to break for lunch. Well, now I've got to load all mine up.
Come home for lunch.
Cuff them up, bring them back to the jail to feed them, let them use the bathroom, cuff them back up, and get them back down there all in an hour.
Good Lord.
So it's really bad. So sometimes if it's really big, we'll brown bag it, But yeah, so I mean, we run into those type of things where if it were literally, if we were all sitting on the same piece of dirt, it'd be really nice to spend 5 minutes walking them back across the parking lot to let them eat.
That would be nice.
Yeah, but
you got to cough up $50 million to do that, though.
Got to make tough decisions. That's for sure.
Well, I mean, if I've said this before, and I think of all the people, if you can explain to them that there is a benefit, for our men and women being here, being on call, not having to drive back and forth, and then gasoline and, figure wear on cars and extra miles, how much quicker each car has to have the oil change just because they're driving back and forth to Oak Ridge. I mean, there's costs involved that we don't think about every day.
Yeah, well, and then you get into the whole issue of, I pay city and county taxes. I like having my own sessions court here in Oak Ridge. That's always the argument.
Well, you know what? I like having my garbage picked up too, but if I move to the county where there's not, then I don't get it. Yeah. So when you move out of the county seat where the courthouse is located, in every county in the United States of America, the county seat, if you move out and that county don't choose to spend the extra money for the convenience, then you go to the county seat.
Yeah.
So if they want that convenience, we can do that if they'd like to pay for the courthouse. That's
we need it. We need it. We need justice.
We certainly don't need to have the courthouse in Oak Ridge. Just the convenience Oak Ridgers paid for by Anderson County money, and just a small fraction by the city of Oak Ridge.
It only makes sense.
Well, let's put one in Norris too. They don't want to drive either.
Right.
Let's just go down there and open a courthouse.
So we
might want one up in Briceville. I know they don't like driving.
Yeah.
But
anyway. it makes sense to me, and I think we should. However, I'm just one voice.
Yeah, but you're a pretty important voice in so much as what the costs are, because you have officers that have to be, they have 30, 40 people to deal with. That's not always happy and safe, even with 2 officers, even with 3 officers.
Yeah, we literally, honestly, it was some really good work on my corrections staff's part, because when I saw it, I thought there is no way we pulled this off. Criminal court, I guess last week, 93 defendants going to criminal court.
93 defendants.
93. It was.
And that was between Clinton and Oak Ridge, or just?
Yeah, it could have been anybody.
Okay.
But they were going to criminal court, so it had already been through the juvenile court side. The sessions court side.
Yes.
And so they I couldn't believe they got all the paperwork done. I mean, that was true.
That's a lot.
I mean,
What's a normal week?
Probably 30, 40.
So about 3 times.
Yeah.
Wow.
And but now our population's up so much. It's really an issue. And it's kind of difficult to manage because.
What's the answer?
I can tell you what it ain't. What it's not the answer.
What's not the answer?
What we see out west of not charging for certain crimes, and that doesn't work.
Gotcha.
Look, unfortunately, I think it's necessary evil, right? And I believe, and I know that they talk about over incarceration in America and all that. Well, I'm good with it, right?
Yeah. I
think it stimulates the economy. Build more jails and prisons, gives jobs, because
bad guys beware.
And I get it. You want to change recidivism, and we work really hard at that. I believe you can do that sometimes in some cases, and I think we owe it as human beings to try to make a difference. But at the end of the day, if you can't behave, we got to lock you up. We got to separate you from society, because it's just not. Nobody needs to be. We don't want. I mean, look, people don't need to be running around scared because we got lawlessness going on. Just really it. Yeah. And we always do really well on our jail inspections, and I know it sucks. The food's terrible. I mean, it really is.
Jail.
It's jail, but it's supposed to be jail.
Yeah.
And I mean, and some of them don't care. Some of them are, I interviewed a guy down there this week. He asked for some FaceTime with me, and he'd done 17 years on one case and 3 on another. So, 20 years of his life, over half his life, he was incarcerated in prison. And so he's going to be with us for the next 2, right? Because he got new charges, and he wanted to talk to me about some stuff. But clearly, in a case like that, he don't care, so it's good.
The food to him's fine.
That's where he needs to be, because he clearly can't
function in society. Yeah.
And so I get it. I promise you, this guy probably had the worst upbringing ever, but
yeah,
why does we just can't let we can't let our citizens be victimized by these folks.
We don't need to let dangerous people out, no matter why they're dangerous. It's not,
Yeah, well, even outside danger. Look, Ron, if I've got a guy that's just, how he chooses to make his living is by stealing, I don't want him out.
True.
That's just facts. Now, granted, trust me, as I say this, I've got a kayak laying in my front yard that could be gone when I get out of this show, right? but I'll have
and
to
420 prisoners.
But
Full.
I'll have to have some ownership in that because I didn't lock it up.
You left it in the front yard.
Right. You know, I mean, but at the end of the day, you got to have some accountability.
I just heard two deputies going, I got an idea for a joke.
Yeah, no doubt.
Let's go get boss's kayak.
But we have to, we got to hold people accountable. And look, at the end of the day, it's up to the individual. The individual's got to decide he's tired of it or she's tired of it or I don't want to live this life no more. And you know, addiction and mental health are real problems. I think the mental health side particularly is somewhere that we can make some real ground on as far as recidivism goes, right? Yeah. But that's still a huge mountain to climb in the sense that I know, you know, I've got this poison oak. So the doctor gives me this steroid pack to take for 5 days.
Gotcha.
First 3, I was Johnny on the spot.
Oh man, boom.
The minute it quit itching, I took late the next day on the 4th day, you know, and I'm you know, hey, take these antibiotics 10 days. Well, day 5, if I feel better, it ain't important no more, and I don't make it a priority. Mm-hmm. So you have to kind of live intentionally, and part of our classes and stuff that we do, we talk to them about that. But that's up to the individual, and they're going to make mistakes. There's no two ways about it. We all do.
Sure.
But you know, the mental health component is really bad, and people don't realize the whole world needs to be in therapy. I can promise you that. It's the greatest. I mean, it really is. I've had it.
I understand.
There's something really valuable about sitting across and telling some total stranger that can't divulge your secrets. You know, I don't like Ron. You know, or
but
whatever.
don't tell him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and help you walk through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, but I'm telling you, I mean, I don't believe we over incarcerate, probably under incarcerate, in my opinion. And recidivism, we need to work on it, and we need to try to put these people on the straight and narrow. But at the end of the day, some just can't do it. Yeah. And for those, we have to separate them from the rest of us for our own good, our own well-being.
What we deal with locally is completely different than national, but I always like to talk to you about things going on nationally too, especially when it involves law enforcement. Here, just getting ready to be 2 weeks ago, you know, the former president of the United States got shot.
Yeah.
And I was looking at, you know, I've watched all the stuff, and for the life of me, I've only had a couple of incidences to have any kind of reaction with something like that. 1980, when President Reagan came to town, he came for the World's Fair. And my friend's dad owned the Indian River Supper Club in Knoxville, or in La Follette, Morris Silcox. He was a stepfather.
What a great name. I mean, Indian River Supper Club.
Indian River Supper Club used to be out the Indian River boat dock. That's where my boat is right now, my house. But I remember he came in one evening and was talking about that the Secret Service had been there, that their perimeter for the president being in Knoxville started at the 134 exit in Campbell County. That was the beginning.
Yeah.
To keep the president from anybody getting to where they could hurt the president. He was going to be in World's Fair Park downtown. And they had him. That was the start of the perimeter. The start of the perimeter with Donald Trump was less than, I mean, the kid was 300 feet away, 340 feet.
I have reports I saw said 150.
Oh, you're right, because he was 100 yards. No, he was, okay. I thought 130 feet or 150 feet, somewhere.
Okay.
I don't know. Anyway, so I was looking at yards, but so I thought he was about 390 yards away. But anyway, where he was, regardless, even when President Obama and Vice President Biden came to town here, they blocked off. I mean, you couldn't pull in and out of Mariner Point while I drove by. You know what I mean? They'd come in and stop it. And so I was with that security. I had, a long time ago, I had the opportunity to meet Vice President Dan Quayle. And that was, I mean, that's my three brushes with Secret Service, and all three of them, any of them, have been way more secure than what I saw happen. From a law enforcement perspective, what do you think happened? The president got shot.
So I was with the city of Clinton when Obama came to town, and I had a role where I just sat and had a span of control, you know. And I remember the guys telling me as the motorcade came through Oak Ridge, there at the 61 Spur, they actually stopped, even though we had it locked down, and they sent Secret Service over to check this dumpster that had already been cleared a dozen times. But the motorcade stopped, and they just double-checked it before they passed it one more time, right? And I'm like, when they told me that, I'm like, you gotta be kidding me, right? So I have never been, and maybe it comes with old age, but I've never been a conspiracy theorist. But boy,
if you're going to start, this is a good place. I'm not kidding.
Yeah, it makes no sense.
People walking around going, he's got a gun. Yeah. They laid eyes on him with a gun. 10 minutes with the gun. 10 minutes before the president come out. An hour before they saw him walking around with a spectrometer or a beatometer and a ladder. Yeah.
So there was a really funny video this guy puts out, and he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna do a test," and he goes, "I'm gonna shoot a video, and you tell me what you notice." And so he's carrying a ladder and then a AR in his other hand. And he's trying to hide the AR with the ladder, right? You know, and you can see them both. And he was mocking the Secret Service.
Yeah.
But no, I don't know. I don't want to think our government had anything to do with it. But there could be.
Well, I'll tell you.
Factors.
Yeah.
Or, you just don't know. I mean, remember the whole JFK and the Lee Harvey Oswald.
I do.
I mean, it was.
Well, I think that without a shadow of a doubt, there's paper trail showing that we just didn't have enough officers. Some officers had been pulled off to go to another detail for the First Lady. And then you've got what is obvious, confusion between the local authorities and the Secret Service. Some of them said the Secret Service didn't even show up for the pre-meeting to brief the locals. Nobody showed up.
Yeah. Obama came to town, they were literally
everywhere
weeks before. And I mean, I wasn't in on those meetings, but I know they were there because you could just tell.
So I don't understand it. I think they sent somebody in 4 days before. That was when they got there.
That's incredible. I mean, look, that is, and unfortunately Trump is polarizing.
Yeah, he's lightning rod.
So, I mean, it was a massive breakdown in security. Now, I will tell you this, capitalism at its finest, my email flooded after this with dignitary protection classes. They're trying to sell law enforcement, And I hadn't seen those in forever. I'm thinking,
that's pretty cool.
But yeah, it doesn't pass the sniff test for me. He got so close, something. He
walked in with zero resistance. Zero.
Yeah.
Me and you can't go through the airport with zero resistance.
That's right. So, the thing that I'm having trouble reconciling is being that close and literally the
angle.
It's dead on.
I could have made the shot, and I'm not that good.
It was. Let's say there's no conspiracy there, right? It is such a blunder. It is the equivalent of a police officer showing up, getting in his patrol car, start making traffic stops without his duty belt. And he doesn't even respond with the proper equipment. It's just terrible. It's unbelievable.
I heard somebody say last night they almost prefer that it be a conspiracy as opposed to us being this negligent. One of the most pristine law enforcement agencies in the world. We have 38 people we're protecting right now with how many thousands of employees?
Right.
And somebody gets that close to a former president, geez Louise.